in some of what we've been talking about today, you have mentioned how hindsight is always clarifying, that you can look back now and see how God was working through people or working through situations in a way you didn't know at the time. So there's a certain wisdom that comes with experience in priesthood. And I guess for this question, I'd like to ask you, what would you say to people who are in the seminary now that you wish someone had told you when you were at that stage of thinking and discerning and praying? What is it that you wish you had known that you think would be helpful for guys who are thinking and praying about whether God's calling them to priesthood?
How good it would be. How good it would be. It would have sustained me through many an examination, many a sweat and worry about celibacy, many a worry about not having a family or not having enough money. I mean, it's so good. There's so much good. And I wish somebody would have told me that. It would have been a little easier.
I think for me it would have been having somebody to walk the journey with. I guess maybe because you have a whole bunch of guys going through seminary. It was kind of like mass production. There was not that at a time too when we were not so scarce that anybody who had a heartbeat could get in. That there was not this shepherding, you could say, that I would tell young men in the seminary to get somebody to walk with them that journey. Whether it's the vocation director or whether it's one of their professors, whether somebody who has the wisdom of hindsight to say, the journey that you're traveling, I've walked some and I can tell you what's up ahead. And say that there certainly will be challenges, but there are rewards, there is joy in it, and you will find fulfillment in it.
I think what strikes me at this point in my journey, as I reflect back, is how quickly it has gone. It's just going by very, very quickly. And I was in the seminary for 10 years, and the last 34 years have gone by too fast. It was worth every day that I studied.
I remember standing at the altar at the cathedral where I celebrated my first Mass, and where I attended Mass as a parishioner for 8 or 9 years before going off to the seminary. So that period of time, as you mentioned, from when I entered the seminary until I really was celebrating my first Mass, I just remember standing at that altar saying, where did the time go? Where did those years fly by? And what a different person I am now, and I think probably the person God had always intended me to be, standing at that altar getting ready to celebrate Mass, with wonderful folks and family and, everybody here to glorify God. But the one thing I would say to someone struggling, if they're like, I'm kind of struggling. Do I want to go? Do I, all those things that go through your mind. One minute you're hot to trot and you're ready to jump out and be the greatest priest in the world before you ever get the application. And the next minute you want to run back to your car and get back to your job and start making all that money. Just take the step. You'll never know. You'll never know unless you take that step. And even if it's just one semester, God willing 1 year, God willing 5 years, take that step and just open yourself up to it. God will do the rest. He'll let you know pretty quickly if this is the right plan, the right path. But you could take away a lot of turmoil. I could have taken off a lot of turmoil from my life if I would have just trusted that and just take the step. There are a lot of good people around this room who took this step. Take it. Trust the providence, and just enjoy the fact that God may be calling you to do something really wonderful.
When I was in the seminary, we would do applications for the next year, even if there wasn't orders. We would write a letter of intent that we wanted to return the following year and so on, and we'd go through some kind of evaluation by the staff, the faculty, the superiors, and you'd get this feedback back. So I'd be sitting in the director's office and being told what the results of that evaluation were. And one of the things that puzzled me was that on a repeating basis, the summary of it would be, there are no contraindications. And I keep going, it's got to be better than no contraindications. It's got to be like more like, this is your talent, this is your skill, you'll make a good priest because of this. To say that there are no contraindications just tells me I don't know yet whether or not this is where I want to go, or why God is calling me to this. And even sticking through even that, and saying, okay, God, just clear it up some more. I'll give you another year. Clear it up for me.
Yeah.
To the point where I can finally say, I think this is where you're calling.
One of our priests, Father Jim Curran, who's now out at James Madison doing campus ministry, tells this story. And it was when he was just out of the Navy and living down in Newport News and discerning and getting a little bit more serious about discernment. And he attended a meeting at Immaculate Conception in Hampton, and was there because he was involved in parish ministry. And at one point he got the chance to meet our former auxiliary bishop, David Foley. Jim introduced himself, and he said to Bishop Foley, I'm here for today's conference. He said, I'm also discerning whether God is calling you to go to the seminary. And he said, Bishop Foley stopped, and he grabbed both of Jim's hands in his own, and he looked at him square in the eye, and he said, it's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life. And Jim said that was one of the most profound moments of his discernment, because he knew that Bishop Foley, that's not a line that Bishop Foley had been preparing. It was instantaneous. It was from his heart. It was from a man who had lived priesthood for many years and was able to say to a young man who was thinking about it and praying about it and pondering it, to just say simply, it really is wonderful. It's wonderful. And so many priests that I have the privilege of listening to and talking to keep saying over and over again, they're not sure how they got here, but when they wake up in the morning, they know they are exactly where they should be, and they can't imagine doing anything else and being this happy.